I wanted to do some comparison video between Horizon Forbidden West, which we saw with the state of play yesterday, and the Halo Infinite stuff that we saw 9 months ago. Now, I realize 100% that people are going to be thinking this is trolling, and that people are going to think that, well, that footage of Halo was 9 months old. I agree. The thing that I'm trying to point out is the fact of the matter is we did get some updated Halo screenshots, but a lot of the things that persisted in that footage from 9 months ago, specifically the idea that those brutes look very plastic and very fake, is still there. If you can kind of zoom in on the brute that we saw on some of those Halo screenshots from the ultra-wide PC shots, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So I thought it very interesting to kind of talk about this, and obviously there are two different types of games, but we saw yesterday that people were already calling Horizon Forbidden West perhaps the most graphically impressive game of all time, which is funny because they were saying the same thing about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart just a while earlier. So I have to admit, what I saw with Horizon Forbidden West was absolutely incredible and could very well be the best graphics I've ever seen. You would also see a lot of the quote-unquote Xbox fans show some kind of faux concern over the frame rate because they showcased the game at 30 frames per second. Need I remind you that on the PlayStation 5, there's no current gen game that runs at 30 frames per second only. Every game has at least an option for 60 frames per second, and considering that this game is a cross-gen game, and what we know from Digital Foundry, which was any game running on last-gen hardware at 30 can easily run at 60 on current gen hardware. So I am 100% convinced that there will be a mode where you can run 60 frames. So people that are kind of faux worried about that, need I also remind you that people were faux worried about that as well. Even Digital Foundry did a video saying all their games were going to be 30 frames per second based off the initial reveals. Of course they're going to show them off in 30 frames for the most part. There are a lot of sort of these cinematic experiences, but that doesn't mean that they're going to have no 60 frames mode. That's the thing that I find kind of funny at all. So they've added a lot to the melee combat on Horizon Forbidden West. I think that the things that they've changed absolutely look incredible. The other things that I kind of noticed, which were they really paid attention to what gamers were asking for in terms of being able to go out there and kind of move around and have that kind of freedom. And now it's like you can go underwater, you can glide. Is there going to be a mount where you can actually get up and kind of and kind of do those type of things where you can ride on the back of a mount? I think that's something that a lot of people are kind of curious about. We don't really know. When we saw Halo Infinite, they have a grappling hook, or Chief does, and now it looks like Aloy has one as well. So I think we're starting to see very much a situation where gamers are going to be happy and extremely happy with Horizon Forbidden West. And I made the assumption that if the game launches this year, it's going to be Game of the Year. It's been kind of a slow year, to be honest with you. And so I don't think it'd take much to win Game of the Year. And if you think about it, Horizon for Zero Dawn did win some Game of the Year awards, but obviously I think what was it that came out that year? A little game called Zelda Breath of the Wild. So it's kind of hard to compete with that, but it does look like we're starting to see this game come into its own. And a lot of times, even if you look at really great franchises, right? So let's say the Uncharted franchise. The first one was good, but it wasn't like super great or anything, right? Now what we did see with the second one, they did a really, really good job with the second one. Okay. And I think that a lot of times the second game is where these games kind of come into themselves. Like the first Halo was good, right? Really, really good. And then the second one was, I think, where it really kind of came into itself. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of people are kind of noticing as well. So I do think that there is that distinct possibility that this is a sequel that could actually outscore Meta, the first game. And not only could it outdo that, but it could also, get like Game of the Year honors, which I think would just be mind-blowing. I mean, the amount of people that you saw talking up this game and how good it looked, I think was phenomenal. And a lot of you guys trust Jez Gordon, good guy, I mean, he's a pure Xbox guy, but he kind of tells it like it is for the most part. And, people asked him, will we see an Xbox game at E3 that looks as impressive as this? And he says probably not. So, I mean, when you see people that are hardcore Xbox fans talk about this, and they just let it go out there and let it be known that, it's probably not going to happen for whatever reason. I have to tell you this, like, Horizon Forbidden West probably took less than, $100 million to make, while Halo Infinite took, probably $500 million or more, new engine, this, that, and the other thing, development hell 6+ years, and, Horizon Forbidden West is also an open world game, and Halo isn't a true open world game. So, I mean, whether or not you agree with me or not, or whether or not you hate me or dislike me or whatever, the fact of the matter is we will see a 60 frames version of this game, and we're going to be able to kind of experience this in a way that we never thought possible. I think that, obviously there's some kind of held back part to the game still being on the PlayStation 4. To be honest with you, I don't even see how the PlayStation 4 can run this thing. To be quite clear, I can hear those PS4s sounding like they're taking off right now trying to listen to this thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that kind of works out. But I do think that they, obviously there's no release date for the game yet. I still think it's going to get released this year. They did say that the game was it's still on track for this year. There was like a couple little rough patches for the game. But I do think that, they're going to continue to do the best they can to kind of get the game out this year and to kind of get people excited about that. And they've done a good job starting yesterday where the whole world is talking about it. That's really kind of funny because at the end of the day, the only thing people had to kind of talk about is the game 30 frames per second. Halo, on the other hand, it was such a weird situation because when we see Horizon shown off and the developers, they're so proud of themselves. They know they nailed it, right? When we saw Halo shown off, it's like the developers, for some reason, were proud of that too, and I think they thought they nailed it, but at the same time, like, they were very unaware that people in general were, like, not happy with how that game was looking, and I think that it was a lot more than just lighting and things like that a lot of the fanboys made it out to be. And now we see some screenshots, and I'm sure, in a couple of weeks' time at E3, we're going to see the game actually running, but are they going to show it on a PC? Are they going to actually show this thing on Xbox? Is it going to launch on Xbox with things like ray tracing? I think those things remain to be seen, and so we're going to have to kind of wait and see on that. But for me personally, I just find it to be kind of funny that people like Halo has looked good in the past. I know people go, Halo's not really a showpiece, but I think like even Halo 2 Anniversary looked amazing. I thought Halo 5 graphically looked really good, especially on the Xbox One X. I thought Halo 4 looked amazing with the lush environments and things like that. I thought that Halo has looked incredible on Xbox consoles in the past, so I don't really buy into the whole thing when people say, oh, well, it's not really a graphical beast or anything like that. It's their showpiece. It's always been a showpiece for Xbox, and the fact of the matter is that people kind of downplay that is a little bit disheartening, to say the least. But I do think we're about to see a lot of very interesting things happen. For me personally, I think it's quite obvious that Halo isn't going to look nearly as good graphically as something like Horizon Forbidden West. Just in general, money doesn't beat talent. So I know that's something that a lot of people, will probably maybe disagree with because, at the end of the day, Sony has the talent and Microsoft has the money, and one of them has put out, Game of the Year winners multiple times over the past few years, and one of them hasn't put out a Game of the Year for, a ton. So yeah, I can't remember the last Game of the Year on Xbox or even nominated, really. And I know somebody's going to go, well, Doom Eternal. That wasn't owned by Microsoft when they made it. It wasn't an Xbox exclusive, so it's a completely different story. So yeah, I can't even remember. It's been so long. But yeah, I do hope that Microsoft get their stuff together, because from what we saw from last year, the game just does not look very good. it doesn't look very good. And unfortunately, there's only so much they can do because it's a first-person shooter that really is kind of held back by even weaker hardware. I know that that Horizon is going to be held back as well, but the even weaker hardware of the launch Xbox One. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'm Crapgamer. This has been Crapgamer Reviews. Thanks for watching. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.